Good afternoon. I'm Dan DeRosa with 19 News, coming to you from our digital desk. We're about to take you live to a sentencing in Cuyahoga County. This is for the death of a 17-year-old Glenville student. This occurred in January of 2024, so a little more than a year ago. It was then that this young man, just 17 years of old, Tavion Cunningham, he was in the area of Seabrook Avenue and East 222nd Street in Euclid. He was shot and killed by 23-year-old Meante Robinson. That is the man you saw in the orange jumpsuit earlier. Robinson has since pleaded guilty. There he is sitting at the defendant's table. He has since pleaded guilty to involuntary manslaughter, felony assault, tampering with evidence, and being a felon in possession of a gun. Mr. Cunningham was obviously, as you see, was a football player for Glenville. He was also a basketball player, had a very bright future in front of him. But that was all taken away just a little more than a year ago. Let's take you live now to the sentencing of 23-year-old Meante Robinson.
The benefit of the bargain in the reduction of the possible prison sentence, the way that our sentencing constructs require us to proceed. So, Mr. Robinson, just before you came out here, I was advised by your attorneys that this morning, or just prior to sentencing, today you have expressed a desire to withdraw your plea. Is that accurate?
Yes.
Okay. Mr. Morgan, or on behalf of defense counsel, is it accurate that you were just advised prior to coming in here?
Prior to coming in here, we were advised, I did talk to Ms. Marlowe.
Who?
Ms. Marlowe, who is our client's girlfriend.
Okay.
After the plea and prior to coming in here, that he kind of wanted to withdraw the plea. We have talked to all the family members, or several family members, prior to coming in here today. And then we just talked to our client prior to coming in here today.
All right, suffice it to say, if you knew for sure that he wanted to withdraw his plea, you would have filed something, but you were told this morning?
By our client.
By your
We had a
client.
face-to-face with our client today.
Okay, all right. Mr. Robinson, this plea happened, let's see, not too long ago. Last week, so not even a week ago. What's changed?
It wasn't made voluntarily.
I'm sorry, say.
It wasn't made voluntarily. I would like to request the counsel.
Okay. So I was here. We went over your maximum penalties. I asked you all the questions, whether or not somebody forced you to enter this plea. You said no. I asked you whether somebody promised you anything to enter this plea. You said no. And in fact, there was a time in which the state, made sure that you were aware that part of the plea is no judicial release. And you said, you hesitated. You said, no judicial release. Hold on. I kind of want the prospect or the chance to be able to be released. And so we stopped the proceeding. You went back into the holding cell with your attorneys. You discussed it further. And then I made sure that you were very well aware of exactly what the plea was. And then I said, you don't have to enter the plea. Do you want to enter the plea? And you ultimately said yes. And you were given additional time to speak with your attorneys. We went over this very meticulously. And so I am finding that it was voluntary. Nobody forced you to do it. We asked you those questions. You even asked questions of us, of your attorneys. Well, what does judicial release mean? So you're well aware of what the plea deal was, and it was and I'm finding that it was a knowingly, willingly, and voluntarily entered plea based upon your conduct, what happened, and your words. So it seems as though you're just having a little bit of regret here about entering into the plea.
It's still stuff that's being said to me that I haven't seen, like stuff on motion to discourage I haven't received.
We've gone over the fact that all discovery was exchanged. This case has been pending for more than a year. I can go into the docket and I can count out how many pretrials they've had. You entered into this plea. You didn't say anything about any discovery. So the attorneys, and I know all three of them, we went over all of your rights, all of the evidence with you. So it seems as though you've just changed your mind here about entering into a plea. Would that be accurate? Yes? Okay. So is there anything that the defense would like to add before I move to the state?
No, Your Honor.
Okay. On behalf of the state?
No, Your Honor, you've made a record. The day of the plea, we painstakingly went through and explained to Mr. Robinson what all his rights were. You completely followed Criminal Rule 11 to a T, and in fact gave him several opportunities to speak to his attorneys when he had questions. So there was no doubt when you asked him how he pled, he said to you that he was guilty of these charges, and he was emphatic when he said guilty. So I would like that to be made part of the record as well, Your Honor. Thank you.
Yes, in fact, I do, in every case, ask if you understand that by pleading guilty, you're admitting to the truth of the facts and your full guilt to the amended indictment. So I'm going to deny your oral motion to withdraw your plea. Reviewed prior to, I've had this come up many times, so I appreciate the heads up from counsel prior to going on the record. The factors regarding the analysis that I have to do in order to determine whether or not a plea should be withdrawn, I am finding after review of all those factors and everything that we've discussed here today that this is a change of heart, and it is, this court will not allow you to withdraw your plea. You have not provided sufficient basis in which to do so, and Rule 11 was complied with. So with that, we will go forward with sentencing today on behalf of the state.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good afternoon. Here this afternoon, Your Honor, we have several family members that would like to address you with regards to Tavion Cunningham, who was the young man that was murdered in this case. We're going to start with his mother. Amber Hill would like to address you first.
Before she addresses, can you just place a general factual basis on the record?
Thank you, Your Honor. Your Honor, this case is yet again a tragedy here in Cuyahoga County. Back on January 5th of 2024, 4 young men from Ginn Academy decided that they should purchase a weapon. And the purpose, from what law enforcement was told, was to purchase this weapon because they were going to take pictures on social media. So they decided that Tavion Cunningham was going to be the one that was going to get them this weapon. So, Your Honor, to make a very long story very short, the situation is that one of the boys had a cousin who lived in Ravenna. That boy had a friend who knew Miante. So they exchanged social media. And through social media, they exchanged cash apps. And so the boys at Ginn Academy pooled their money together, and they sent their money through a cash app to Tavion Cunningham. On January 5th of 2024, there are text messages between Tavion Cunningham and Miante Robinson, who nobody knows. They know him by a social media name and Cash App. Now, what we come to find out from Cash App, Your Honor, is that the Cash App, that the money was transferred on January 5th 2024, and it's about, I would say about 5:24 p.m. because Meante Robinson and Deshaun Wright drive to Euclid, Ohio, which is verified by cell phone mapping, and the car is caught on flock camera. The car comes back to Meante Robinson's brother, who, when he speaks to the police, says, "It's my car, but my brother, Meante Robinson, drives it all the time." And in addition, Skinny Sean is always with him. At the time that the Cash App, the money is transferred from our victim to Meante Robinson, 36 seconds go by and Tavion Cunningham is shot. He is shot in the chest at close range. The trace evidence would have shown blast destruction, which means it was a contact wound, and he was shot in the leg. At the scene, a Timberlane tag was left with this defendant's DNA. There was DNA on my victim's knuckles, and there was DNA on his coat. And it all came back to Meante Robinson. This isn't a whodunit, Your Honor. This case was then had to be investigated because they took off. And when they were in fact apprehended, they lied to the police. I was never in Euclid, never go to Euclid because the Euclid cops arrest people, don't know each other. It was a whole big complete lie up until all the search warrants came back and all the evidence started to link Tavion Cunningham through the graciousness of his own family, who gave the police his cell phone information, gave everything to the police, and it came back to Meante Robinson.
And Meante Robinson's cell phone puts him at the scene.
It does, Your Honor. And in addition, that is the factual basis for this whole case. And there was actually a witness who came today who had given the state, you know how it goes when witnesses don't want to come forward. He came forward with his mother today. And Mr. Blake, he said, you know, I don't know why I'm here, why you subpoenaed me. And Mr. Blake said, how about I show you the interview that you gave to the Euclid police? And he said, you don't need to do that. I know, because he was the one that knew Meante Robinson. There was the link that brought it full circle. So, Your Honor, this is a tragedy. It's high school students and a young man who had a lot of potential, had worked at Lincoln Electric, had gotten many certificates, and now he's dead because this young man decided to pull a trigger. And that's why we're here before you. So those are the facts and circumstances. So this isn't a whodunit by any stretch of the imagination. Cash App, cell phone, automobile, DNA. It all comes back to Meante Robinson.
And can you tell me what the tampering with evidence was?
Getting rid of the gun.
Okay.
We knew the gun was never found.
Okay.
Because there was a live round in a spent shell casing that we did further testing because the defense wanted to have all this testing done. We met with the defense numerous times, all these different cell phones. We actually even had the co-defendant tell his mother to go to the property and go get my cell phones when he said he didn't even know who Meante Robinson was. When in fact, they have pictures together, pictures where they are engaging in showing guns, taking pictures, and putting it out on social media.
Anything else before I hear from the victim's family?
Not right now, Your Honor.
Okay. Go ahead.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. I'm Amber Hill, Tavion Cunningham's mom. AMBERHILL. On behalf of me and my family, I want to thank the Euclid Police Department, the EMS, the prosecutors, just for getting us. It'll never be justice, but we get some closure. Tavion, on January 5th, 2024, changed my life. 2024 was supposed to be our best year. Tavion was working. He was going to prom. He was graduating. He was playing ball. He had just got accepted into college. The same tux we was gonna put him in for prom, we had to put it on him for his homegoing. I had a good child. He made a mistake. And the media, he was buying a gun. He made a mistake. Thank you. Thank you, Your Honor. Could you please see fit that this man gets punished for killing my baby? He was just a baby. He had so much life to live. He was good to me. He was good to my family. He come from a good home. He made a mistake, and it shouldn't have cost him his life. But Tavion, I love you. I miss you. And I'm here. We stand for you. You didn't even know my baby. You don't even know what he looked like. And the sad part, he gave him the money. And he still killed him.
Amanda Murray is going to address you. She is a paternal aunt.
Amanda Murray. Amanda Murray. AMANDAMURRAY. I'm Tavion's aunt. Tavion was a light in my life. He was funny, charismatic, charming, witty, and confident. He made life fun and was always the life of the party. Our relationship was one of a kind. He had a part of my heart that was exclusive to him. We would laugh and talk with each other like our lives depended on it. Tavion was the kind of person who touched everyone around him. His smile was infectious, and he lit up every room he walked in. One day, while I was dropping Tavion off at home, he looked at me and said, "Auntie, I don't know what I'm going to do in life, but I know it'll be big. I know I'm going to make it in life. You know what I mean? I can just feel it." And I told him he was going to make it, and I told him he could be whatever he wanted to be, and to make sure he doesn't forget about his auntie. On January 5th, 2024, that dream ended for him. The night I got the news, I started mourning him on the way to the hospital. As crazy as it sounds, I knew he was gone because I couldn't feel him in my heart and my body felt weak. And that's when I knew just how strong our love was. The hurt our family has endured, I would not wish on anyone, not even my worst enemy. I have not felt complete since that day, and I don't think I ever will. Judge Kilbane, no amount of time Miante could serve will bring my nephew back, but I can only hope he receives the maximum time offered for the pain that he has caused our family and everyone who ever loved Tavion Rondell Cunningham.
Portia Littlejohn, his stepmother.
Portia Littlejohn, stepmother, PorshalittleJohn. I've been in Tavion's life since he was 7.5 years old. I haven't been the same since this happened to him. He took my baby life on his baby sister's birthday. Tavion was fun and loving. He played multiple sports. He was engaged in so many programs at school. I even took him to get signed up for driving school. He was so excited to drive for prom. But all of that was taken away from him so quickly. Those times we cannot get back. He has a niece he never got the chance to meet, and I know he would have loved that. He loved everybody and had a heart of gold. He was the golden child. We couldn't attend his high school graduation, his prom, his first day of college, him getting married or having children. Judge, I just ask you to please give him the maximum sentence. Thank you.
And lastly, Your Honor, his paternal grandmother, Pamela Buckingham.
Pamela Buckingham, Pamela Buck, Ingham. Tavion is my son's second son. And he had these two boys back to back when he was 19 and 20. And he was my oldest son. So then I had the little ones that came way later. They grew up with him. He lived with us practically. Anytime it was a vacation, he was there. He was like my son. He was like our child because his parents were young when they had him. He grew up with his aunts and uncles. And last year was so hard. I wanted to go to sleep and not wake up because the pain, the grief. And I dealt with this when my father was murdered. Same month, but in 1993. And the grief was so unbearable. And I would pray and say, look to my father, say, watch out for my baby. And I say, my grandma, watch out for my baby. And then the next day I'd be like, nah, because he don't know them. No, he needed me. But just to touch on who he was a man of excellence. He was not perfect, but excellence does not require perfection. He came from a loving family, both sides. And he came from a family of professionals and entrepreneurs. He went to Michael R. White from kindergarten through the 8th grade. He was accepted into Gann Academy in 2020, where he was supposed to graduate in May of 2024 at 17 years old. During his time at Gann, Tavion was a model student. He was the class president. He was honor roll, and he participated in many extracurricular activities. Tavion played basketball, football, and right maybe a month before he died, Glenville was on TV for winning back-to-back championships. And he secured an internship at Lincoln Electric. And he was continuing throughout the program through his final senior year again. He was accepted into Morehouse College, which we didn't find out until we went into his emails after he was murdered. He went to New Beginnings Driving School, where he paid for it himself because he wanted to have his driver's license so he could drive to the prom, because he knew his grandma was going to get him whatever car he wanted to get. He had an incredible sense of humor, which he got from his mother and his father. And he had an infectious laugh and a smile that lit up the room. He was a resilient young man, and he accomplished goals that preceded his age, but not his wisdom. He was always showing his admiration and appreciation to the people he loved, and he enjoyed spending time with his siblings and took care of them every chance he got. Tavion was a true family man. He was an amazing son, brother, grandson, nephew, cousin, and friend. His light reached many people, and Tavion's service was so many people, had to be like 800 or 900 people, and we knew we loved him, and we knew how special he was to us. But we didn't know how special he was to that many more people. It's like that day, I'll never forget, my husband and I took a nap. He's on one recliner, I'm on the other. And my phone rang. It's my son, and he says, "Ma, can you look up Tavion's location? Because somebody got shot on 222nd and we can find him." My heart just dropped. But one thing I have to say, this young man, you have destroyed a life, and in doing so, he has condemned himself for a lifetime of torment. What should be Mr. Robinson's best days will instead be filled with regret, isolation, and suffering. He is a murderer. He killed our grandson. Someone so weak and small-minded that he lacked the decency and courage to face what he's done. And even now, he's trying to get out of it. Every time he closes his eyes, every passing shadow is going to remind him of my grandchild. He will haunt him until his final breath. He will never know peace, neither in this life nor the next. His presence will follow him. His voice will echo in his mind, and his blood will stain his soul forever. Tavion is resting in peace. You, however, will never find peace. Eyes wide open or closed shut, you will always see the pure evil you have created. Tavion's lifeless body, the consequence of your actions, and every night he will come to you and ask you why.
Your Honor, as you well know, the purposes and principles of sentencing are to punish the offender and to protect the public. This is yet another case in Cuyahoga County where young people are killed over guns. The sad and tragic events of this particular case are that this defendant got the money. He could have walked away, and instead he took a gun and at point blank range killed Tavion Cunningham. The why is only known to him, why he did it. But he has to live with the consequences. And the state of Ohio is going to respectfully request, yes, we make deals all the time, and we have plea agreements, because we try to look at all the facts and circumstances. But it doesn't diminish the fact that people need to be punished for their actions. And this defendant's action was that he took a gun and then he shot somebody at point blank after receiving the money. It was 36 seconds. That's what the evidence would have shown in this courtroom. I ask you that he get every bit of time that was given as part of this plea agreement, and that when he is in prison, that he thinks about his actions and thinks about lying and thinks about skirting and not knowing people. And maybe, just maybe, he would find it in his heart to have some type of remorse for the Cunningham family, who he has taken their loved one from them. Thank you.
Thank you. Who's speaking on behalf of the defense?
Thank you. And excuse me, initially we would like to call our client's grandmother. Will you come up here? Ma'am, I'm going to ask you to state your name and spell your name for the court reporter.
Okay, yes. My name is Patricia Harrison, the grandmother of Meontae Robinson.
Can you spell your last name?
Spell your last name.
Hairston.
Okay. We've had the opportunity to talk. What would you like to tell Judge Kilbane?
I would like to say that Meontae Robinson is not no murderer and no bad child. He came from a good family, and he came out of a Christian home as well, of trying to teach him what is right and what is wrong. But I cannot speak for what happened out there, but I say one thing, and I believe I can stand on God's word, and I'm sure I can speak the truth. It takes 2 or 3 to tango. I don't believe in my heart that he did this out of malices and did it out of evil. No, because we know our grandchild as well as they know their child. Meontae is not no bad person streaming out there in those streets or nowhere. And whatever the situation was for him to call and get in touch with my grandson, want to buy guns, that's something maybe none of us will not know. None but the ones that did that. Meontae is not no bad child, and we are not no bad parents. We are trying to be good and righteous and upright parents towards our grandchildren and our children. And I thank God for that. But one thing for sure I say, no matter what they say about Meontae or what they call him, Meontae is not going to walk this not alone, because I teach him he got God on his side. And I do believe that. And saying that they want him, he ain't going to never be right and all of this stuff. But see, God, my God, is a forgiving God. Believe me, the word of God say he forgive those. He'll give those murderers. Paul murdered many when he was, before he come to be apostle, prophet, whatever. God forgave him and made him that, so God can forgive my grandson. All he have to do is believe on it and repent. Just repent.
Ms. Harrison, I appreciate your comments.
Yes,
We get a lot of people that come in here, family members that say, you know, my son or my grandson is not a bad person. Particularly, grandmothers. Most people love their and are kind to their grandmothers, and so he's had this is his 5th case. Okay, and so I'm sure that you know him as your grandson, but their child, their family member, was taken by your grandson, and this is his 5th case. And so when you say that God will forgive him, the issue is that you have to ask for forgiveness and confess what you've done. And even as of this morning, he's not taken responsibility for what he's done. So I appreciate you as a grandmother coming in here and advocating for your grandson, but just keep in mind, somebody else's grandson is now gone because of his actions. All right. Thank you for being here.
Your Honor, we also have Meonte's mother here to speak on his behalf. If you could state your name and spell your last name for the court reporter, please.
Yolanda Robinson, YOLANDA-ROBINSON.
And what would you like to tell the court?
First, I would like to apologize to the family. I want to apologize for my son. I know he did wrong, and I sincerely, from the bottom of my heart, I've been praying on this since I heard about it, and I am so sorry. Because if it was my son, I would feel the same way. I just pray, I just hope that I know he's going to go to prison. I know that he's going to go to prison. And I just pray that you can just have some mercy on him. I think I would feel the same way as they would if it was my son, But I don't know. I just pray that you have mercy on my son. I don't know. But again, I do apologize for his actions. Mom, I'm sorry.
Thank you for acknowledging that.
Thank you.
Mr. Morgan?
Your Honor, on behalf of Mr. Gardner, Mr. Barnheiser, and myself, we certainly would like to express condolences to the family of Tavion Cunningham. I think Ms. Veralia hit the nail on the head. It is another example in the city of Cleveland, county of Cuyahoga, of tragic circumstances, senseless act. There's no way, shape, or form that we can make any sense out of what happened. We can't take it back. Just on the three of us, we apologize for your pain. Certainly something that you didn't deserve to go through and never should have gone through. Your Honor, you did mention that he does have a couple of other matters.
Well, yeah, pending. I was just referring to his criminal history. Those are
Correct,
pending.
yes.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm referring to. We would ask the court to consider, in light of the fact that the sentence, whatever the court gives, is going to be extremely lengthy. We would ask the court to terminate those old cases. Reagan Tokes applies here. It's something that the defense bar has always objected to. However, the Supreme Court has given us some guidance, says that it is constitutional. We have talked to Meonte about it. It gives incentive. Maybe I'm wrong, but our anticipation is it's going to be 5.5 years attributable to Reagan Tokes. It gives him some incentive to be an individual in the system that abides by all the rules and to be a model prisoner. He needs to be that to be able to look for the minimal amount of time to get out. Prior to today, Your Honor, I anticipated that Deontay would be speaking. I know there's some remorsefulness on his part. However, we had counseled him about speaking about remorse when he would speak. But in light of the hearing we had prior to this sentencing, our advice to Deontay is to exercise his right to at sentencing. He has a right to speak. If he wants to speak, he can. However, we're advising him not to because we are anticipating the
And there was a recent case about that as well, right?
correct.
Yeah.
So hopefully that's not held against him. I'm sure the court will follow along.
Yes.
Bottom line, Your Honor, he's a young individual. While some contact with the criminal justice system, it wasn't extremely serious. This is. He's going to spend an awful lot of time in prison. We would ask the court to consider on the lower end of the sentencing. Reagan Tokes is going to be hanging over him to be compliant with all the rules and regulations of prison. If he doesn't follow those rules and regulations, Reagan Tokes is going to make him stay there a little bit longer. He has a young child. That young child is going to grow up without a father. It's unfortunate. Mr. Robinson doesn't have anybody else to blame but himself. And I'm not trying to put the blame anywhere else. But it is a factor that we would ask the court to consider. Bottom line, Your Honor, we're asking towards the lower end. I trust, I've known this court for a long time. I trust the court will be fair with sentencing. That's all I have really to say. And again, our apologies. And our deepest sympathy. Do you have anything you want to say?
Your Honor, if I may address the court, again, I have had several conversations with Deontay extensively throughout the pendency of this case, as well as throughout this morning, as we've been on the record for this sentencing. And while my colleague, Mr. Morgan, has indicated that we're still recommending that he maintain this Fifth Amendment right at this point due to the earlier hearing, throughout all of this, he still has maintained at least, and is allowing me to express that he does truly apologize to the family and his own family as well, especially to Tavion's family, for what had transpired. Obviously, there was no trial here, Your Honor. He did take a plea. I do believe that the plea is reflective of, at least from what our client has indicated to us throughout of this, of what may have transpired. That doesn't negate his actions, but I do note that his prior record, the court referenced, none of those were offenses of violence, Your Honor. They're all low-level things that I think is more reflective of the fact that this was an unplanned mistake that had happened, a terrible situation where Deontay did end up in a situation with a lost life. He does express, at least through me, this apology. We will maintain the fact that he's not going to do that himself, but he did express throughout all of this that he did want to make sure that he was able to let his apologies known to the family as well as to his own for what had happened because of his actions. Thank you, Your Honor.
Would you like to say anything?
I apologize. I know I
Stand up, please.
apologize for the time. I want to put that.
Okay. Anything else? All right. I consider the purposes and principles of sentencing. you're 25 years old now, 23 years old. You know, we have you are on probation for drug possession and carrying a concealed weapon, which by the standards of this court is a dime a dozen around here. And we do everything that we can to rehabilitate young people and to get them back on the right side of the law. You had previously been in low-level type cases, criminal trespass, criminal damaging, attempted receiving stolen property, attempted carrying a concealed weapon, obstructing official business, which sadly is a very common type of criminal history for people that we see here come through here, young men such as yourself, high offending age range between 18 and 28, 27. And we see so many of you that come through here. And I think that you did, not only one of the victim's family members that said this, but not only did you take somebody's life, but you did a great disservice to yourself and to others, because you were given an opportunity to do well on probation, community control, and instead you took that opportunity and ended up taking somebody else's life. And to think about, you know, what the family lost. Not only did they lose their family member due to your actions, but the community lost an upstanding citizen, somebody who was set to graduate college, or set to graduate high school, go on to college, had a job. Meanwhile, you were out there violating your probation. By having a weapon, you had gotten what you wanted from this victim, and then again, because nobody's spoken up, nobody knows exactly what happened there. All we know, and I can tell you that this has been written over and over and over, every aggravated murder case that I see comes through here. Cell phone records, putting everybody exactly where they are, showing exactly where everybody was at what time. Cash apps, some sort of a sale or transaction, ballistics, DNA, license plate readers. This is a case in which you should be taking full responsibility, but I'm not taking that your statements or non-statements into account. I appreciate that you apologize to the family, but you're a young man. You were given every opportunity. You had a family that loved you, and you threw it away, and you took somebody's life with you. So for those reasons, the sentence I'm going to impose, counts 1 and 4 both have 3-year firearm specifications. Those must run consecutively according to 2929.14B1G. So those will run consecutive for 6 years of firearm specifications, prior and consecutive to, and I'm going to explain this to you, sir. What I explained earlier is all the evidence that would have been presented in this case, you would have received a life sentence if you were convicted. And every single case that's come through here has been pretty much the same with that type of evidence. They took everything into account and they gave you mercy at the point of this stage in the plea. You were given a deal, and that was 25 to 31 years with no early release. And I'm going to stay within the bounds of that deal that you made with the state of Ohio to reduce your potential sentence from a life sentence to one in which you will be able to rehabilitate yourself and come back into our community. So for the felony of the first degree involuntary manslaughter, 11 years, and that'll be the Reagan-Tokes. That'll go, I'll explain the conditions for that. The felony of the second degree, 8 years. On the felony of the third degree, having weapons under disability, 36 months. You already had 2 firearm cases prior to that, and the tampering with evidence, felony of the third degree, 36 months. There is already an agreement that the offenses are not allied offenses of similar import, but I'm going to find that imposing consecutive terms is consistent to punish the offender and protect the public from future crime. The consecutive sentences are not disproportionate to the seriousness of your conduct and to the danger that you pose to the public. I'm making that finding under subsection C4A, that this offense was committed while you're on criminal history demonstrates that consecutive sentences are necessary to protect the public from future crime by you. You have a high likelihood for recidivism based upon your criminal history because under the factors, you had not responded favorably to sanctions previously imposed. So, sir, your counts will be run consecutively. You have 401 jail days credit, which is approximately 13 months, 4 days. I'm going to explain to you the Reagan tokes on this. There is no judicial release. You've already agreed to that. However, the law, as it states, is the Ohio Department of Corrections can recommend you for earned reduction of minimum term 5 to 15%. For exceptional conduct or adjustment to incarceration. There would be a hearing in front of this court if you are recommended, but there is no judicial release. If you are not recommended for or denied early release, there's a presumption that you'll be released at the end of your minimum term. The Ohio Department of Corrections can hold a hearing in regards to this decision, and the court has no involvement on whether or not you were released after your minimum term. If you are not released after your minimum term, the Ohio Department of Corrections can extend your incarceration through your maximum term. And so by the calculation of 6 years prior and consecutive to 25 to 30 years, that's 31 years to 36 and a half years is your total stated prison term. There may be more than one hearing or extension of prison time, but it cannot exceed your maximum term, and you must be released after serving your maximum term. I'm going to explain to you the reasons why you can be extended, so pay attention. If you are classified as a security level 3 or higher, you are placed in an extended restrictive housing at any time during the year preceding the hearing. You violated institutional rules that compromise prison security or the safety of staff or inmates, or that involved physical harm or threat of physical harm to a staff or inmate, or committed a violation of law that was not prosecuted, and that those infractions or violations demonstrate a lack of rehabilitation. Your behavior while incarcerated demonstrates a continued threat to society. You did not productively participate in a majority of the rehabilitative programs and activities recommended by DRC, or did not successfully complete a reasonable number of the programs in which you participated. Or lastly, upon release, you will not be residing in a halfway house, reentry center, or licensed community residential center, and do not have any other fixed address at which to reside, essentially being homeless. I'm going to remind you that upon your release, there's a period of post-release control that is mandatory for 2 years, and it could be up to a maximum of 5 years, so from 2 to 5 years. The parole board will monitor you. If you violate any of the terms and conditions of post-release control, you can be sent back to prison for up to 1/2 of any sentence that I give you, or up to 9 months for any single violation. Do you understand that, sir?
Yes.
All right. Anything else for the record?
None of you have to state your honor.
Okay. Sir, your jail time credit days is calculated based upon the first case that was indicted. So it goes back to that first case. There was a dismissal and then a re-indictment. So you're getting every single day of jail time credit for both cases. And as for case 678786, I'm finding you in probation violation for that case, for this conviction, and terminating your probation on that case. Anything else?
No, Your Honor, thank you.
Your Honor, the one last thing I would request is, he has been previously found indigent by the court. I would ask the court to waive any court costs.
So you have 31 to 36 and a half years. I've had inmates do a lot of community work service within the walls of the prison. I've had them at least attempt to give back to the community through the programs there, so he can pay cash or do community work service in lieu of any costs and fees. And I've seen some persons do actually quite a bit of work to be able to work off those court costs and fees. Anything else?
No, Your Honor, thank you.
All right, you're amended. Have they finished filling them out? Any questions?
31, total sentence was 31 to 36 and a half years.
Yes.
And no possibility of parole. judicial release?
So there's two types. It's judicial release, and then the Ohio Department of Corrections can recommend if they're really good in prison, anywhere between 5